Welcome to Black Businesses Matter, a podcast about why Black businesses matter and the benefits of collaborating and advocating for Black businesses to drive impact. Each episode will cover legacy, hope, Black joy, funding sources, cultural shifts, equality, and so much more. We will provide inspiration and action while spreading some joy to a thriving community of Black business owners and leading thought leaders.
I am Larvetta Loftin, your host and the founder of the L3 Agency.
Known as the brand maven who transforms organizations with her storytelling prowess, meet Larvetta Loftin, host of Black Businesses Matter, a podcast about why Black businesses matter and the benefits of collaborating and advocating for Black businesses to drive impact.
Well, hey, y'all. Welcome back to another episode. This is your girl, Larvetta Loftin, the host of Black Businesses Matter. I got so much to talk to you all about in this new season. Some good news. I'm excited. So I feel like I want to kind of recap the year a little bit and then talk about some of the exciting things. I think we are... this last season was probably an opportunity for us to go back and think about what's next for us. So one is reaching the 100th episode was huge. I don't think I knew that I would get to 100 when we started this. So just to give you all some background, I say this all the time, is literally building this podcast was because there was a conversation that I had with a colleague of mine about investors not knowing where to invest into Black and brown businesses. And so I said, what if I created something that would be inclusive and that there would be no barriers, meaning that people could Google Black Businesses Matter and they could find this podcast and they didn't have to go to a medium to actually learn about it. I mean, we know that social media is one medium that you can use, but that was a critical thing that we wanted to make sure, because people who tune into us is all over, are all over the world. They're not just in, Chicago. I'm a Chicago, born and raised out of Chicago. But the other reason was also Black businesses as a whole are the largest employers of Black people. And so how can we allow ourselves to hear these stories so that we can advance Black wealth, we could advance the wealth gap, and quite frankly, we can build Black legacy. And so we've done that. We've done this, and now that we're on the 100th episode, it's a surreal moment for me. For many, I started off, I majored in radio, TV, film, so radio was my blood, believe it or not. I worked for a jazz station called WCLK at Clark Atlanta University. And as a young person, I thought jazz was like a cornball. Like I was like, oh my gosh, this is corny, because jazz is what my parents listen to. So now that I'm kind of like, it's full circle, and the evolution of having a mic in front of me and being able to sit with people across the room, because we do have a studio that we go into, and we interview and we sit and talk, and it's conversational, and it feels just like that from when I was at Clark Atlanta in 1994. And so I think sometimes it's just full circle in how your journey as an entrepreneur really evolves. And so, some of those milestones that I can say is that sometimes we think where we start is where we're going to end up. Not always, but I think sometimes it's the things that happen in between that really set you up to where you want to go. And I knew very early that I wanted to share positive stories. I knew that. I knew that I wanted to be in rooms where we could really educate people on the power of positive Black stories. I knew that. And so being the storyteller and now being able to be a podcast host to be able to shape, storytelling has been really cool. It's been cool. I'm excited that this podcast has grown into for some people, I see them on the street. They're like, oh my gosh, I listen to you all the time. I appreciate all of the businesses you've had. Many of them talk about they really appreciate why Black businesses matter and really creating that movement. And so when I want to ask myself why Black businesses matter, is because every Black business has business owner, or even people that weren't Black businesses, they all have a response to that question. And we all have varied answers on what that means, which it means that we come in very different hues, but we matter because of that, because we're not all the same, that we're not monolithic, that we have value in the world, and our stories typically become how we start businesses, being pushed out of corporate America, being undervalued, being underappreciated, being underrepresented. Those are part of the reasons why entrepreneurship for many becomes a journey for people. And so some people turn those side businesses because they needed to make more money to help their children or help their family, or, buy something. It becomes that, and then it turns and morphs into ownership. And so one of the things that I'm learning is that really is about learning to owning, your business, not just working in your business. So one of our wins this year in this place is the L3 agency, which is our full service marketing communications firm, is trademarked. The L3 agency is trademarked. So that's a win. Like, we own our IP, we own our logo. So no one else, if they do try, we are going to have attorneys to be able to go after them. So I think that's something that I built the business and now are going back and figure out how to own some of our IP and make sure that the work that we're doing, that people don't try to steal it, because that's a real thing. So I think that's a big thing. We, as a marketing and communications firm, we help a lot of businesses. We love a lot of organizations to amplify and build impact. But we also have to make sure that we too are making strides in our business and step up and I think and adapt to new trends and not be afraid of trying something new. And we're doing that, and I'm excited. The website, we have a new website that I am super stoked about. It was developed by a brilliant Black woman, and I'm excited to be able to work with her and collaborate with her, and quite frankly, purchase her services. And so that's important for me. And so I hope that you guys will take a peek at it. It is the L3 agency. We're proud about it. I mean, it really took a lot of work to put it together. And a lot of times people say, well, you can build a site like this tomorrow. We did not build a site like in 24 hours. We had strategy sessions. We had weekly kickoff meetings. We had project timeline. We went through content. Like, I need people to understand that there is a process to building your digital footprint, because a website is your digital footprint, your home where people get to learn about you. And I think people should take time with it because it is your IP. So because we're trademark, that's ours, and we're going to take very good care of it and make sure that when it is given to the world, that the world understands the sacrifices that have been made. So I do think that's something that I am learning and evolving as an entrepreneur. And I'm learning that being an entrepreneur is part of a lifestyle, right? That, you wake up in the morning, my day is not the same. Like, on Mondays, I have a completely different thing that I'm, have to tend to. I have Fridays, but I also think that most entrepreneurs have multiple businesses going on at the same time. So I think when you meet an entrepreneur, you meet someone who is also building like multiple streams of income. That's just how they move, right? And I think when we think about ownership, we need to evolve into ownership, meaning that you have a team and we own the responsibility that we are being given, right? And so while I'm the founder, I have to own being the founder and making sure that, our brand has guidelines, has protection, has alignment. Those are the things that I care about. But some of my other team members, they all own the space that they're in, the role that they play to be able to ensure that L3 agency can move beyond me, right? And so I think that's important. I think as you build a business, really thinking through, and I think some of the businesses that we're featuring this season, I think some of them you could use. Some of them you will find value, whether that's an author that's like, hey, I really need to start that book to help me for thought leadership. And so maybe that's something that you need to do. And, taking out that book, reading someone else's book. I think when we read somebody else's book, it allows us to level set and pace ourselves and know that we may have a book inside of me. One of the other things I've also learned is that when you build book, try to build a book that people can learn from. A lot of times we hear these stories. I hear people like, I built this book. It's about me. That's not a bad thing. But when you have the ability to give people or teach people a skill that they haven't ordinarily don't do, and I think you'll hear that from Kevin. He built this book that's about skill building. And I think that's where we need to get to versus really telling these stories. I'm not saying that your story isn't important. I just think we really need to look at books as a place for skill-based learning, that you could take a book over a weekend, read it, and learn something new. So that's one of the things that I've learned and that I'm learning with some of the businesses that we feature as authors. And, one of the things that I'm also growing is be okay with expansion. It's frightening as it is, and because it is frightening, is never get to a space where you're comfortable. I believe in that. Be uncomfortable in your business. Find different tools. Stay a student. I have repeated that. But one of the things that I am doing better at this year, and one of this that I want to talk about is that finances and operations. I'm being a lot more intentional with profits. Are we making a profit? Are we submitting our job codes? Are we doing what we say we do? Really making sure that we are being smart with our time, because we are a time-based business. So I think that's another thing that we need to do, is being very technical. Thinking about, if someone audits you, and being prepared that you have all the paperwork and all the things if you're ever audited. Still a journey. I'm still freaking out like, oh my gosh, if we're audited, it's going to be a pain in the butt. But just trying to set those systems in place. As I said to you all, reaching the 100th episode, it's cool. But I think all these wins that are happening, I was listening to Tyler Perry, and it's like, and he was talking about when he lost his mother, and like all these things started to happen, all good things. And so you start to miss them because, and a lot of times they are our cheerleaders. And so I do feel like, with my mom's passing, there has just been some really, really cool moments in my life. And so there's moments where I get really, really sad because my mom, is not here. But then there's moments that I know that she is watching me, that she's, in the background saying, "You go, girl," because that was her favorite line. But it also is pushing me that, because my mother wanted me to be happy. And she also wanted me to do whatever I wanted to. Like, if that's your dream, go for it. Like, literally, wow, like that. So, as I'm evolving as an entrepreneur, is learning to know when it's time to pivot. know when it's time to say, I don't do this anymore. I do this. Like being okay with that. And quite frankly, you're going to hear from people being okay with delegating. I learned that. And my team is teaching me, like, learning how to keep your mouth closed, even when you believe you know it, right? Just allowing for things to kind of manifest on their own. I think that's been a lesson for me. It's not easy because I love to talk. I love to talk, which is why I have this podcast. But I think sometimes you got to learn how to listen. And that's been a journey for me personally and professionally. So that's been hard for me. So I just want you all to know. And then the other part is, I want to talk about social media. Like, you can learn about this podcast anywhere. We do have Instagram, Black Businesses Matter podcast. But part of the reason why we didn't spend a lot is because I really wanted to focus on who we were targeting, who our target audience was, and not giving away too much of our content to social media. And so as someone who works in marketing, I see what's changing. These platforms are ad-based and they want you to run ads. And so I'm starting to see that. And so, I talk to attorneys, I've talked to people like, what's next? Own your content. If I can't say that again. And when I say own your content, build your content, save your content, keep it in the, a cloud, Dropbox, whatever you use as your software. Don't give it to social media. And I think oftentimes that's what we do. We pop on, but we don't realize that you've given them your content. So I believe that content is key. And so making sure that you're building good content, but you own it. And that's a big thing that I want people to understand from a trend standpoint, and as an agency that I mentioned to you all that, we built this website, and I'm excited. So I'm going to keep bragging on this because I really am really proud of the outcome of it. The L3 agency, that's THE. The L3agency.com. Take a listen, give us some feedback, leave us a review on Google. Maybe you checked it out and you just want to leave a review. We do read those reviews. So we appreciate if you give us some feedback on that. It is information about the podcast. It's information about me. It's information about my team. And so that's the thing that we are. And then I really want you to be open and flexible on how we grow this company. It's scary because we know when companies start to grow, there could be acquisitions, there could be investments that shift the business. And so don't be so quick to judge, right? Be able to ask questions. And I think that's important because we see that with a lot of Black brands, like, oh my gosh, I can't believe they sold it for this. But I think we have to learn how to be okay with asking questions and be okay when it's time for you to move to something else. And so that's something that I'm learning. Not that I'm doing that anytime soon, but knowing that sometimes people are ready for something else. And so acquisitions are good for that. So I think that's something else that we need to see, that some of us don't want to do this till we 80, and that's okay. But, or we do. I mean, I think it's just allowing us to be different. And one of my quotes that I shared recently is, being different doesn't mean being deficient. And so a lot of times being different, we were like, oh my gosh, you're so different, right? We really believed that difference made us deficient for each other. And so I'm learning that even in our business with our clients who are different in how they show up. And so really helping that message to be pushed. So I've learned that that's who I am as a person. I've never really been conservative, nor that have I been a person that does things like others. I'm always going to think out of the box and be, a game changer in that space. And I've always been different. I've always been labeled, that even as a child, it was like, that's the wild child. She's going to be doing all kinds of stuff. And I think if you are that wild child and you are different, it's okay. Different doesn't mean deficient. So ride with that. So my brag moment, as I share with you all, we, reaching the 100th episode, that's huge. And so, going from doing it in my house to having a full-fledged, amazing audio engineer, Delvin Randall, who really just has really helped us grow this podcast. I think that's a huge win, coming from working at home and doing it at home till you realize that you want to plus it up. So I'm really grateful for that. So if you listen to our episode from the first one to like now, big difference from an audio standpoint. So give us some shout outs on that. Just showing the growth that we had to go through to get to that. BBM Mag. So Black Businesses Matter has a magazine, and the magazine just came about. I was traveling to Park City, Utah, and I was in meetings and conferences, and literally like they were just talking about immersive and, people really wanting to get good content, and that, things that we thought were going away or not. And it was just a lot. And so I left there inspired that I wanted to build this mag. And I'm calling it Mag because it's small in size, but big in content. And Mag because I'm from Chicago, and Magnificent Mile represented high-end fashion and culture and arts. So what would it look like if we had this digital space, Mag, where it was our go-to destination for high-end services, right? High-end, culture, things that speak to our culture that we can lean into. And so we did it. We did it with the help of my incredible team. We did it. I'm really proud about it. So we've got about 4 businesses, and most people's like, how did the businesses get called? We sent out an email to all of the guests and said, hey, well, not everyone, but the ones that we wanted to feature for the launch. And so it has a spirit. We have a guest who had vodka, and it's called Island John. And so he's featured. And so you get to really go back and hear his story. But then you see this visual of who he is, his background. But if we want you to go hear about his story and want to support it. And all of these are service-based businesses. We have our good friend Irfan with Roosterly. Great. We work with him. And he supports a lot of Black businesses. He works with them as clients. And so many of them are his clients. We are one of them, and just been a major supporter, as a brown business. And so a service-based business, being able to connect you to these companies for collaboration, for connection, whatever that might be. This has like been a dream of mine, because when people ask me, how do I connect to this person? How this? So now you have a spot to be able to do this. So you can download it. Go to our website, the L3agency.com, and you can download it. And did I tell y'all it's free? So it's free. It's free. And so this is our way of really taking our podcast and moving it beyond, logging on, but just being able to have something that you can print it out and share it with colleagues, share it with family members. You could just, do a number of things with it. You can save it in your phone. It's a flip book. You can save it in your phone and just go through. And then we want you to go and listen to these stories on our podcast. So BBM, Black Businesses Matter. So I'm super stoked. Tell your friends, tell your family members, make this Black History Month one where you download this in our first edition. So we're going to have multiple editions. So stay tuned. So once you download this one, you'll get notices of other editions. So that part is something that we are being intentional about. So please be on the look. The art that you're going to see, the direction of where we're going. It's just giving me chills. So I want you guys to do that. some of our upcoming guests, we have our authors, Renee Hastings. She is a virtual assistant. Business Elle Davis. She's an author and leadership training developer. Just all around some amazing service-based businesses that are really scaling and building really amazing businesses. So I promise you all, I am intentional with going and finding, and a lot of these people reach out to us. So I'm really cool about that. They reach out to us. Some people, we're like, hey, we want to get you on. So that part, I'm excited. I'm even excited that this year in my team, we're doing a holiday gift. And instead of calling it white elephant, I'm calling it black elephant. And I bought all black businesses, black brands, to play the what was called white elephant. We're calling it black elephant. And so black elephant meaning black brands. And so being intentional, going and shopping in them, like it's, I tell people it's work, but when I hear these stories, it just makes me want to stay doing it. And I spend over the holidays, like all my money goes to, I kid you not, 75% of my money, I probably spend a good $1,000 in black businesses specifically because that is important to me. So I hope that's something that you'll be challenged throughout the year for that. The one thing that we did our live, a taping, recording of our 100th episode with the Breed Love Entrepreneurship Centered, powered by the YWCA. And I talked about Black joy because in every episode we asked what brings you joy. And these are Black businesses. And I really want to dive into this Black joy as a commodity. I said it because the thing is that for many of us, we were not given permission to share the joy that we had in building business, because if a lot of times from a slavery standpoint, we didn't, because guess what? Fires would erupt. They were going to try to, cause harm to our families. And we've seen it. I mean, you've seen it from Oklahoma. You've seen it. And so we were not allowed to really share our Black joy. And we believe that that's a commodity that it's time to, no longer walking with this oppression, but walking with the joy that we have to be able to create wealth, to be able to create family legacies, and create an opportunity for people to see the joy that you have when someone leaves your business because they've had a service done, or a person leaves your business because you helped them build, a marketing plan, or you've helped them to be able to be an effective leader. All of that is so important. And we think that it's time for Black joy to be shown up. So you'll see that in the magazine that I have, that is Black joy is a commodity. And so we want to talk more about that. So we want to get your feedback on how that resonates with you, and what that resonates to you in your community, and how you're going to show up with your Black joy as a commodity, and what that looks like. Like, we want to take that and move that along, because every person that has been on the show, we ask them, what brings you joy? And people get moved like, oh my gosh, no one's ever asked me that question, because we are doing practice, we are solving, we're doing all the things. And so it's time for us to relish in the joy that we have. And I think that's the beauty of technology. I think it's the beauty of connection. I think it's the beauty of community. And so let's really, 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 really lean in, get close in this place of Black joy. I think Black joy comes with, I see you hand clapping somebody, like you see the work that they're doing. And now, they're opening up a second location, or they've, brought on another person, or, that's the joy, and it's a commodity, right? So no longer do we have to live in this oppressed world, and staying in that space that we can really shine in Black joy. So Black Businesses Matter is a movement to make sure that people understand that we have influence, that we have impact, and that we're here to stay, and that we don't need others to validate us, that we are validated because we are brilliant. And quite frankly, we are effective. Like, we really are, and we're influential. We don't need to be called influencers, in my opinion. We've been influencing all of our lives. And I think that's the part that I think is so incredible, because we have been, we've been doing it for so long. I mean, from standing up to marching to doing all these things, that created influence, that created change. And I think we need to recognize that and not allow that to go away. So, so get ready, y'all. Get ready. I think we're going to do some events. I think we're going to do some stuff. So how can you stay connected to us? That's the biggest thing. You can stay connected to us, and we want to stay connected to you by texting us 312-300-1300. You can text BBM FAM. That's BBM FAM to 312-300-1300. It's important to join this family and this community, because when we host events and when we host things, you get to be invited to that. We also have this new thing called fan mail. Okay. So you being a fan of the podcast, you can send us mail. So you know how back in the day with AOL was like, you got mail. So kind of that thing. Give us some mail. We want to hear from you on questions. Maybe you have a question about a guest. Maybe something sparked something that you wanted us to dig a little bit deeper. Maybe you have a topic that we haven't touched on that you're like, I would like Black Businesses Matter to touch on. Quite frankly, you could give a shout out to anybody of, just to me as the host, my wonderful associate producer, Katori Shepherd. Maybe send, tell us something, for us individually that, we just need to hear. And so we appreciate those levels of acknowledgement. So I just want to say that as we grow, and quite frankly, you may give us fan mail and say, hey, we want to see Black Business Matter do this. We want to see y'all do this. Like, put some audacious goals in our fan mail so that we can, bring it back to the team, talk about it, and see if that's, something that we want to explore. But you guys are part of our family, part of our community. And that's how we see this, is building a community that people can hear and be inspired and want to advocate and want to collaborate. That's the whole goal of this podcast, is for there to be more collaboration, more advocacy, and more investment into Black Businesses Matter. So take that, keep rocking with us. And I don't know if I don't know if 200 is in my goal, but we'll see. I'm going to do it until God tells me it's time. And so thank you guys. Again, thank you for helping us get here, allowing us to adapt to new trends and new software that we're doing. And it's my 25th year as an entrepreneur. I can't believe that. So I say this all the time, and I'm just getting started. So I know you're going to think like, what Larvetta got up her sleeve? Am I going to do a party? Am I going to do this? But if you text us, you might get invited to that special party, but you can't. We're not going to invite you unless you text us, because it's going to be my 25th year. So there might be about 25 things I'm doing that you may want to jump in on it. So text us 312-300-1300. Thank you guys. Tune in this season. We've got some really great businesses that we're going to be featuring. And quite frankly, I just love them. Like, many of them, I was like, oh my gosh. Y'all, I'm telling you, I got real emotional and excited about things that probably you guys didn't know I could do. But stay tuned. Thank you for listening to another episode of Black Businesses Matter. See you next week.
The Black Businesses Matter podcast is produced by the L3 Agency, a culturally sensitive influencer, marketing, and communications firm in Chicago, where relationships are our currency, passion is our profit maker, and people are our bottom line. Follow us on Instagram at Black Businesses Matter.